So again, these are small questions, they're not worth a lot of points. So just be careful in the exam to time yourself wisely. Right? These 3 questions, they may be time consuming for some of you, but they're only worth 10 points. So we do a quick and dirty calculation. Very quick and dirty calculation. The exam is an hour and a half. It's 90 minutes, the exam. And are you guys surprised about that? It's half the class of the exam. So it's 90 minutes. And there are 50 points. And this is worth 10 points. So the first section should not take you more than 18 minutes on average. Question 4 should also not take you more than, basically every 10 points, if you look at just a game of averages, it should be no more than 18 minutes. That being said, maybe the longer questions are going to take more time than the shorter ones. So just be aware of your timing when you're doing the exam. I think, a big part of success on this exam is timing yourself right. Okay, so just keep up the pace. Don't spend half an hour on the first question, because then you're pretty much screwed. Then everything else is going to be a rush, and the later questions are worth more points. Or vice versa. Don't go to the end and do a 20-point question, and then spend an hour and a half on a 20-point question and not answer the rest. You have to kind of pace yourself and find a balance of time. It's a big part of the success of this exam. I was really generous here. I wrote, how does Samsung leverage its size in order to gain cost savings? Hint, use Chandler. Provide 3 pieces of evidence to support your answer. This will not happen on the final. It might happen on the midterm, to be specific. But on the final, they'll be very general. They'll just say, how does Samsung leverage its size in order to gain cost savings? It's going to have to click in your mind that we're talking about economies of scale and scope, and we're talking about Chandler. And it should also make sense to you that in a 10-point question, this is important, in a 10-point question, you should have 3 pieces of supporting evidence. 3 pieces are better than, 3 great pieces of evidence are better than 5 weak ones. So I'm giving you my guidelines. I think that, in general, 3 pieces of supporting evidence. Anybody have a counter argument to my statement? Anybody have underlying assumption? Well, Stavros, what if we're asked a question on vision? There are 4 components to vision. So yes, if you're asked a question on vision, you have to provide 4 pieces of evidence, right? Because there are 4 components. But in general, if it doesn't state it, or if the topic, first mover, it's 3. Vision is clearly it's 4. But if I were to ask you a question on Griner, where you have basically, up to 5, 3 would be enough. Okay? But if vision, you need 4. Right? You need 4 evidence because you have 4 different topics, components. So 3 is the general rule, but there are exceptions to the rule. Well, I think there's one exception to the rule, which would be if I were to ask you on vision. No question? Just AC. Is Samsung a visionary organization? These are the types of questions that you should expect. Super broad. Is Samsung a visionary organization? You have to say, okay, Colin and Pora, we're talking about vision. Therefore, we're talking about, what are we talking about? Core ideology. And envision future, the core ideology, which is the glue, and envision future, which inspires change and motivates you to keep up with the environment. Then core ideology is core purpose and core values, and envision future is BHAG and a detailed, vivid description. All right. So again, they're not going to tell you apply Collins and Porras's theory of vision, which is broken down into blah 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 blah. You're expected to kind of give that information, and you'll get points for that. Now, why do I want you to bring a highlighter? It's not to waste time. It's to practice for the final, which is double the length. Highlight the keywords that you want the reader to see. It doesn't have to be perfect, just quick. Yep.
For question 5, should we provide the evidence?
Yes.
How many?
4.
Oh yeah, vision.
Yeah. 1 for each component, I would say.
Even if
They're not a vision organization?
We didn't see several, or provide several pieces of evidence.
They're not going to tell you. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
They're going to expect you to know what's best. As a general rule, 3 is best. If I were to ask vision, you have to go with 4. Because there are 4 components you have to support. But 3 is best in general. Is that clear? I hope so. You could hear it over and over again. This time it is actually recording. And then I have the long essay question. So remember that on the exam, the long question, it's a one-page essay. Well, it's kind of 1 page. It's worth 20 points. And again, you have to write your answer within the lines. This is exactly the same lines you're going to have on the exam. And the idea is to have a bit of structure. So please have an intro paragraph where you would have, and I have the structure in my slide. Intro would have basic definition. The body would have all the evidence and maybe some small assessments. Then you have the conclusion, which would maybe reiterate, restate your claim. Sorry, intro would have the claim and definition. Your body would have the evidence, right, that supports your claim and some maybe small assessments. And then at the bottom, you'd have restatement of your claim plus your conclusion. So have that structure. You only need to have structure for your last question. The rest of the questions, you don't need structure. Structure still helps, right? Using a highlighter, using keywords to help structure your answer. But like actual paragraph structure will be only important in your last question on the exam. So I would recommend that you practice this. You time yourselves and you practice on these cases from now until next Monday, because that way you'll be, and then you can discuss with your teammates what's good and what's not. At the same time, keep an eye out for your Pangea essay. For me, it's priority number 1 to give you your feedback for that essay. And I will grill you. I'll really give you feedback on it. Oh yeah. If you have not given me your essay, Pangea essay, give it to me by submitting. Who has not given it to me yet? Nobody else? Okay. Don't be shy, because it's important for you. And I'll still give you the points. Just how nice I am. So review of the concepts. I have a list of some concepts here that'll help you practice for the exam. All of these topics are more or less fair game in terms of basically any topics that you see, any concepts that you see on the slides are fair game for the first 3 questions, the small 3-point questions. In terms of damage control, I mean, you don't. I wouldn't say spend that much time memorizing the definitions of all the small keywords everywhere. Because every slide deck is going to have a list of key concepts. They're only worth 10 points. Right? And I'll tell you, for the midterm, they're going to be something that we discussed explicitly in class. Not going to make it hard. And for the final as well, it's only going to be a small percentage of the final exam. What's most important is that you understand the main claims of every author. Okay, even if I were to ask you a question on this list, for example, I'm probably not going to ask you a question on entrepreneurial enterprise. I could, but I won't. On the final, it's a bit harder, right? I'm not going to ask you a question on stock market pressure, right? I'm only going to ask you questions on the main. This is fair game, all right? But it's not going to happen on the midterm. On the midterm, for the first 3 questions, I'll ask you stuff that we discussed in class. Everything will be stuff we discussed in class. The bulk of the exam is going to be based on the main claims of the authors in the readings. Talking about first mover, related diversification, economies of scale and scope. We're talking about Griner's phases of evolution and revolution. You have to know those phases well. We're talking about Barney's Vrio analysis of resources and capabilities. And we're talking about Cullen and Porras' structure on vision. That's going to be the main, at least 80% of your exam is going to be on that. Then I could ask you some smaller definition questions on what is a concept map, for example. I could ask you if I really want to be a jerk, what is entrepreneurial enterprise? I could. But if it comes up, it'll be worth like 3% of your whole exam. So what I'm trying to say is, don't invest your time in memorizing all the definitions in the book of all the concepts. I say instead of that, focus on being able to apply all of the big theories to the 2 readings that you're going to receive. And practice building a skeleton and a structure for your answers in advance of the exam. Because you're only going to have a week. I would also say there's a benefit of working in teams to prepare for the exam. Is there a drawback? Yeah, I don't care if you have the same answer. Your answer's going to be exactly the same. Nothing really I can say. Because you have the exam in advance. You could have technically prepared every single answer way in advance of the exam together. Unfortunately, that's why I don't like the way this exam is designed. But I have no control over that. But what's the risk? What if you both have the same answer and it's completely wrong? That happened last year. Okay, is that people were giving answers and I knew that they worked together, which is fine. But two people worked together that didn't understand the material. Okay, and like the thing is that you get in the group think, right? So you're both together working, you're like, yeah, it sounds great, but it's garbage. So make sure that if you're working with somebody else, be critical. Okay, make sure you have solid evidence. All right. So if you're working with somebody else, that's great. I encourage you to work with other people to prepare. Not a bad idea. But I would say work individually first. Come together afterwards with your individual thoughts and ideas. Push the envelope a bit if you're going to work together. Avoid groupthink. It happened. I'm not kidding. So I give you these are just some definitions, key concepts for a grinder: age, size, revolution, evolution, growth rate, management style, organizational structure. Remember that we can always use age and size of an organization. Class finishes at 5:30, right? Or 5:30, right? So management style, organizational. These are just some grinder concepts. Concept map. I told you my favorite grinder is the table that I have in the other slide deck. It's not here, but it's in the other slide deck. That table is great, not by itself, but that table, in addition to understanding of the concept, is great. Plus, remember that you can always look at age, size, and growth rate of the industry to help determine what phase the company is in. For critical thinking, remember that you guys are going to catch the train. Get it done. Enjoy it while it's still there. So, in terms of critical, anybody else have to catch a train or something like that, guys? Honestly, don't hesitate. It's recorded. So, if somebody has to catch a train or whatever, just saying, I'm not offended. It's Sunday. So, claims, evidence, underlying assumptions. These are the topics that can be covered in your exam. If I say, assess the evidence, you're expected to understand that's asking you for the SPARK framework. So how do you assess the evidence? Well, you got to show me what do you think the claim is, and what do you think the evidence is to support that claim. Underlying assumptions. You don't just give me an assumption without giving me a claim and an evidence, right? Yeah. I'm speaking to you, Patrick. Just because I want to make sure that we understand when we do something and it's not perfect, we figure out how to do it better. So Patrick I'm sure he had a great assumption, but even if you have a great assumption, if you don't explicitly state the claim and the evidence and say that the assumption links the claim, is the gap between the claim and the evidence, then you will not get the full points. So just keep in mind that, make sure that when you say something on the exam, you make sure that you completely explain to me that you understand the concept, or you show me that you understand the concepts fully. Here's some popular expressions. Like I said, we didn't really cover these in class. They are fair game, but really, how much time are you going to invest memorizing all these terms? I can ask any of these questions on the exam if I wanted to, and I am referring more to the final exam than the midterm, but I could technically ask you, what are knowledge workers on the exam as a 3-point question. Would I do it? Probably not. Could I do it? Yes. Will it come up on the final? Maybe. Because I'm in more control of the midterm than the final. A little bit more control. I don't control the questions. I don't control the readings, but I could kind of make some minor adjustments, especially for the smaller questions nobody's going to notice. The final, it is what it is. I'm not going to be a jerk today. I really want you guys to focus on the most important theories. And if I were to mention one of these, it would be something that we discussed in class, which pretty much is vision, the only one that's here, and maybe R&D as well. All right. So your exam, you will get the articles will be posted. I'll also email you to remind you they'll be posted next Monday. You'll have 7 days to basically look at them. 1.5 hours, 3 very short answers, 2 short answers, 1 essay question. You're allowed translation dictionaries, and you will be provided with a clean version of the case. So you're not going to come in with your own case. You're going to have a clean version of it on the exam. Any questions about that? I would say try doing it yourself for the mock exam, and then share ideas with your teammates. Same thing for the actual exam itself. And again, certain people work well in groups, others don't. Be careful. Class 7, don't forget that you guys owe me your progress report 1 for the October 8th, which is next Monday. Send it to me via the Google Drive link. And for class 7, after your midterm, just a reminder that we're looking at causal claims and Hertzberg's theory of motivation, plus the Lululemon video, which the Lululemon as a company is going to be what we'll be talking about next class. Please try to do it in advance this time. At least skim it. Any questions or comments or thoughts? 3 things. I will be available for extended office hours. So check your, in the email, I'll send you a link to a Google Drive. You can choose a time. You will get your Pangea essay responses within the next week with feedback. And I will post some general ideas on the mock exam as well. But my priority is Pangea feedback. I will give it to you as soon as possible. And your readings will be available a week before the exam. So don't be surprised and come to the exam without having read the readings. The articles that we did in class, like Pangea, Samsung, Fairphone, those are not going to be on your exam, right? You're responsible for the classical theories. You're not responsible for the news readings. Like I'm not going to ask you a question about Samsung or a question about Fairphone. I'm going to ask you questions on the theories, not on the articles. Does that make sense? I will try to clear my emails by the next 2-3 days, and hopefully I'll be back on track. But right now, like I said, I'm really far behind, and I apologize. I have about 20 minutes, 70 minutes. If you have questions, I'm going to wait until my next class. I'll be here. Okay? Thank you.